Hello, I'm Jody Wolf. You're watching Expoz on September 4, 2015, 2:14 a.m. Birmingham, Alabama. Topic: another mixed bag of strange events. And I'm going to do one or two small ones. It'll be short, but it really ticked me off when I heard why. Well, number one, there has been another beach where hundreds and hundreds of porpoise have washed up. And they were dying so quickly that people couldn't get them in the water. And for the most part, most of them died. And there was... in Kazakhstan or Kurdistan, this happened just a few days ago, and this one kind of gets me. 60,000. Now, what I didn't pay a lot of attention to or didn't write down, and if I don't write it down, I tend to forget the type of animal it was. But that country had a total of 240,000 of these animals. They're not reindeer and they're not sheep. They're some kind of deer. And 240,000 is how many the country had. 5 days, 60,000 died in 5 days. Ironically, they started dying the night that a man filmed the same type of event in the sky from where he was. He was looking to the west. In order to be looking west, a little bit southwest, he's looking toward Norway from where he was. Actually filmed a spiral in the sky. And again, it was blue. This one is a little bit different in shape than the others, but it started out the same. The spiral was the same. And when it went on for a few minutes, the black of it stopped and it reversed itself, and then it kind of went away. That night, the same man that filmed that spiral, and he could not tell which country it came from, but looking toward Norway, that night, several hundred of his animals died. And he doesn't own all of them. He owns what he had. But then the next night, there was like 20,000 of them dead. The next night, they couldn't count them all. And by the fifth night, they counted 60,000 of the herd of 240,000 were dead. The herd is a private herd owned by multiple groups. 60,000 died. And that blows me away. Okay, now here's another one. And this one, I remember hearing about it, and I remember seeing the story about it. But tonight, it hit me. I believe I know what it is. I guess you want me to tell you what I'm even thinking. There was a Japanese airliner, 747, and total of 4 people, the pilot and 3 others in the airplane. Usually you have a pilot, a co-pilot, and you have a guy that sits in the seat. He's the navigator. He tells them what's what, and then you have an extra man. He can swap out for anybody but the pilot. And but they're flying along the inner Alaskan airspace. They're headed toward Anchorage. They have airplane full of wine that they got in France. But he's flying along and he sees lights in the distance, 11 o'clock. So if you're looking straight ahead, 11 o'clock is slightly to your left. He called Alaska anyway, the tower there in Alaska. It's Alaska Center, and it said so and so Japanese Airlines number so and so. We're on a flight. We have a flight plan. We're IRF and we're going in, but we're landing. We got to get fuel and take off. But we want to ask you about the two airplanes in front of us. How far away are they? And we can't tell. Are they coming to us or are they flying with us? In the Japanese center, just like when I was flying, coming from Little Mobile, I wanted to get above the clouds and just float on into Birmingham. So I had Houston Center. And then about Montgomery, they gave me to Atlanta Center. So this was Alaska Center. And Alaska told them, we don't have anything on radar. And Alaska said, sir, we need to know whether we need to vector one way or the other. But we do know we need to move because this thing's coming at us and it's coming closer. Alaska came back on and said, we do not see traffic in your vicinity, not between you and our airport. And then there was another plane up going. They left Alaska. They're headed to the east toward Europe, and they very brief moment said to Alaska Center, we have traffic, and we have it at like 1 o'clock on theirs. And then they said to the Japanese airline, they said, make a 360 where you sit. We'll clear the airspace, make a 360. So what they did was the airliner turned away from the incoming traffic to them. When they turned away from them, which they turned to their right or toward the 90 degrees or again toward the north, they saw the size of this thing in the sky. They said it was as big as 4 aircraft carriers. And they did not report on the size to Alaska Center, but they did say it's big. They went ahead and made their 360. And when they were back on heading, then the airline that had taken off from Alaska passed them, said once again, we see, and then they stopped talking. And they said, well, we saw it is gone. And then Alaska Center said to the Japanese Airlines, we have traffic. It is behind you, and it is still in a location where you said it was at the time. So I'm going to tell you what I think it was, because it disappeared 1 minute later. They had it in their sights a total of making the turn and everything for 22 minutes. But keep in mind, the technology that they're able to do now, when they can take something and project an image in another place, like they want to put Elvis Presley on a stage with a duet with his daughter. You have a hologram. This thing that Japanese Airlines saw going over Alaska was probably a hologram that went away about as quick as it started. That has happened numerous times now. Most of those times has been north of the United States. If a hologram, an experimental, was in the sky and they made it as far as four large aircraft carriers, I am saying this. I don't believe they have the ability, this is whoever made them, to build something that big. I would say what they were probably in reality was probably a craft smaller than that airline. But yet when a holograph image of it was projected, they can make it any size they want. Interesting. I believe that is exactly what happened. I've never heard this before. People may call me idiot. They do anyway. I don't care. And call me strange. Who cares? But in any case, I bet you anything that when they talk about these mile high, mile wide, and some people even seen 15-mile in size ships, I believe they're seeing holograms. That's what I believe. I don't believe anyone has the ability to build a ship that big and fly it around. I believe it's hologram. Take it or leave it. Jody Wolf Expoz.